What's up, folks? David here, TexasHornsFans.com. Let's talk about the 70-35 whooping over the TeeTees in Austin. We'll look at a few plays and also kind of see where this win kind of maybe puts Texas heading into TCU and Oklahoma over the next 2 weeks in a Big 12 that's looking more and more winnable by the week. Hope you enjoy the video. All right, so overall, we'll look at a few stats here in a second, but, obviously I think that this was a really good confidence boost game in terms of just sticking with the trust that the players, I think, need to have in the coaching staff and their philosophy and scheme coming off of a really rough punch in the mouth against Arkansas. So, obviously, Casey's second start, there's no question that there's a noticeable difference in the way the offense moves with him. Now, having said that, we only got to see like 6 quarters with Hudson Card. I thought Hudson Card did a great job against Louisiana, but I do think that there is a dynamic that Casey brings that maybe just isn't there yet with Hudson Card. It looks pretty similar to me to what we saw when Sam Ehlinger was a freshman, and it was the Sam and Shane battle with Shane Buechele. Buechele, I think, definitely looked like the better, pure, natural passer, but when Sam was in there, the offense just seemed to move better, just seemed to click better. There seemed to be more of an energy. And I think what we see with Casey is more continuity and depth of things that work, whether it's down the field, middle of the field passes to Whittington or Worthy, whether it is just the efficiency in Bijan running and then getting down to into the red zone and getting creative with Roschon Johnson, sticking him in at quarterback and mixing some stuff up. We saw that little kind of shovel pass, jet sweep to Whittington when really almost all the defense was keying on Bijan to the right, and then Whittington, takes it back to the left, and he had a couple blockers there that helped him get into the end zone. So just that sort of creativity, whereas I think Hudson has shown that he's a little bit more of a fastball thrower, which can be awesome to push the ball down the field. I don't think Casey has quite the arm strength, but he's showing that he can make really good decisions. He had a few bad passes, sure. He had a bad throw on an interception where he was trying to push it a little bit, but he had 5 incompletions. What was he? He was 23 of 18, or 18 of 23. He had as many touchdown passes as he had incompletions. That's pretty dang efficient. His yards per attempt was a little over 13 yards per attempt. That's really solid. That's pushing the ball downfield. That's hitting receivers in stride and allowing the play to stretch out and continue. That's not dink and dunk, 6-7 yards per attempt. That's big time. 13 yards per attempt. Something like that is not going to continue happening across the entire season. Expectations coming into this game, I kind of thought this thing would roll up 38 to 40 points on Tech, and then I absolutely could see Tech scoring 30 to 35. They ended up scoring 35, but the game really wasn't even that close. 70 to 35. There really wasn't a time in this game where I ever felt like Tech was taking control of the game. that they had that touchdown run where Stroud, the quarterback, ran it in, and then he got hurt on that play going down. But even then, I never really felt like Tech was taking control of the momentum. You remember last year going into overtime, I absolutely felt like that. You look at last year's close games: Tech, TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma State. All 5 of those games could have gone either way, 0-5 or 5-0. Oklahoma was a quadruple overtime. Tech was in overtime. Oklahoma State was in overtime. TCU came down to the wire where Keontae Ingram fumbled at the goal line. And Iowa State was a close game. So, but it was cool to see this thing go out there, take momentum, and never let it go. Sure, the defense gave up some big plays, absolutely. Some defensive backs were out of position. But, against Tech, you got to kind of expect that that's going to happen sometimes against a team like Tech. I was actually a little bit more worried about Tech's rushing offense and in gouging the Texas rushing defense kind of in the middle, but that was pretty much shut down. I think they only had like 120 yards rushing. But a few more stats. Casey 18 of 23, 303 yards, 5 touchdown passes plus the pick. He also had a touchdown run. Bijan 18 carries, 137 yards, averaging 7.6. He also added 2 catches, 54 yards in a touchdown. The touchdown catch coming on that 4th down play to on the first series. And it was another great play call, clearing out the defenders, letting Bijan roll out on the right side. He catches the ball, turns around, plants his foot in the ground, totally twists up a defender, and then heads down the sideline for the score. That was like a 38-yard touchdown run. It was also cool to see Roschon get in. He tacked on another couple touchdowns. 13 carries, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. True freshman Jonathan Brooks got in the game, 7 carries, 47 yards. Keelan Robinson, transfer from Alabama, 4 carries, 42 yards, and a touchdown. And Keelan Robinson, man, he runs harder than his size. Where like with Jonathan Brooks, I'm super impressed by his balance. His balance and ability to stay up and get a few more yards reminds me a lot of Jamal Charles. And then Keelan Robinson obviously has the speed, but he runs tougher than I thought he would run. Coming in from Alabama, you just heard a lot about his speed, right? But he's a tough runner. He also almost had another blocked punt. He lined up offsides. I think his helmet shoulder pads were right on the line of scrimmage. They called him line up offsides, but man, he's got the speed. So I would expect to see maybe a couple more blocked punts from him this year. But that was so cool to see the depth at running back. Jaden Blue, the commit for this year, running back commit, threw out a tweet about why he chose to go to Texas, and he specifically mentioned how so many running backs got time and made an impact. And we saw that against Louisiana, we saw it against Rice, and we saw it against Tech again. So just the ability to give these guys some significant playing time and let them get in there and mix it up. So Worthy, leading receivers, 5 catches, 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. Whittington was right behind him, also with 5 catches, 93 yards and a touchdown. Joshua Moore, just 24 yards. I think Joshua Moore is kind of becoming less and less of a factor among the receivers, just kind of showing a little more that he's kind of a guy. Maybe that changes a little more, now that kind of Casey's taken over the starting quarterback job. But there's no question that Worthy and Whittington have emerged as the top 2 receivers, and I wouldn't be surprised if Worthy ends up being the number 1 receiver by the end of the season, or if he's not already. He's just that special, hard-nosed player who also is just ridiculously fast. He's slippery. He's got hands. He's not afraid to catch the ball over the middle. He knows how to get past a defender. Yeah, he's super special, and you can tell why he was so highly recruited. Why Alabama was going after him so hard. That's the type of receiver that we've seen come out of Alabama over the past few years, and thankful that he changed his commit from Michigan. Just a couple quick notes on defense before we look at some plays. Josh Thompson, overshown, leading the team in tackles, overshown with 6 tackles. Obviously, Josh Thompson with the pick 6 that was impactful. Luke Brockemeyer also had a pick from a kind of a tip ball there in the middle. Barian Sorrell, the true freshman defensive end / kind of hybrid lineman, he made some plays. He had 3 tackles, and it wasn't just completely in junk time. Darian Dunn, 3 tackles. Alfred Collins with a sack, 2 tackles. That sack came on that weird defensive alignment that almost looked like a power I, defense. 3 linemen stacked up behind each other right in the middle, and then I think over on the left side of the line was Ray Thornton. And basically what happened was it looked like the second guy was indicating which way he was going to go, which gap he was going to go in, because he had his hand on I forget who was right up in front, but basically they split. Collins went more on the left side, which was the side that Ray Thornton was on, and really easily just got past the offensive lineman for the sack. We saw that alignment twice, I believe, but it was interesting that when they called it then, because Tech was backed up really inside their own 10. They may have been backed up inside their own 5, but that was interesting to see. We hadn't seen that all year. Overall, I definitely think there's still some problems with the down defensive linemen not getting into the backfield and sort of wreaking enough havoc on their own. That's what I hoped to see. I think Keandre Colburn has like 3 tackles on the year, so I don't know why he's disappeared so much. Tavondre Sweat has been there at times. Ojimo has been there at times. I'm thinking that we may be starting to see a little bit more of Alfred Collins getting in the rotation there. He's just proven several times to be able to just use his size and athleticism to get back there and knife through the offensive line. But the defense definitely still has some issues with in the defensive backfield, letting guys just attack open zones and letting some of these receivers get behind them. Linebacker wise, I'm more impressed. I came into this season saying that the linebackers were probably the weakest group on the team, and now, with Overshown's performance, Luke Brockemeyer stepping up as a starter, and Ovia Gofu, the transfer from Notre Dame, maybe right now the best pass rusher at linebacker. So he's been super impressive. So overall, the linebacker group has been super impressive. Some quick team stats. Tech still racked up 520 yards of offense. Texas had 639 total yards of offense, which was really cool to see. Still more rushing yards, 336 total rushing yards, which was awesome. I've been a little bit surprised. I thought we would see maybe a little bit more designed runs for Casey. Maybe that's something they're holding on right now, while TCU and Oklahoma come up. 8.5 yards per play for Texas, 27 first downs, 10 of 13 on third downs. So that's awesome to see. 31 penalties. I think last week there were like 20 or 31 yards in penalties. I think last week there were maybe like 20 something yards in penalties. So that's pretty good as well. Still early in the season. That's cool to see. Cutting down on the penalties. So let's look at a few highlight plays here real quick that I pulled off that I thought were interesting and stood out. All right, so let's look at a few plays here. This was after Bijan's touchdown catch and run. This is when Tech's quarterback ran it in kind of on a zone read, kept it himself, and he actually got injured on this play, but you can see he's likely looking here, keying on the running back. Can't really tell who that is, but he keeps it. B.J. Foster takes the step on the outside, which to me seems to be really out of place. He obviously sees this and then cuts it right back up in here because there's no one else to defend that. So even if B.J. Foster is doing his job and keying on the quarterback here, it seems to me that he really should have just broken down and kind of kept both of his feet under him, as opposed to trying to wall off the outside, and now he's having to play catch up by getting back inside. But as of that point right there, where they're both parallel on the 10-yard line, it's too late, and the only sort of last resort he has is to dive at his legs, and of course misses. So it's just wide open there. See, so this is already 10-7. Bijan does another great move there, a little inside cut. It's so natural too. Let's watch that again. You know, on the first touchdown, on that fourth down play where he comes out of the backfield after the defenders clear covering the wide receivers, Bijan does the same thing. He catches the ball, turns around, just absolutely sticks his leg in the ground and twists the defender up. There's a slow-mo video of that play that's it's pretty funny because it's from the perspective of it's more like an end zone camera looking back at the run, and you can really kind of see how the defender gets completely twisted around. But you see Bijan right here decide to make a move on the defender. What is that, 3 or 4 yards in front of him. Bam, right there. So he leaves him, breaks another tackle, and gets another 10 yards or so. Just every game, there's like 3 or 4 plays that just showcase how special and how talented of a runner he is. Let's see, this is the pick 6 by Josh Thompson. Just a really long developing play there. I don't know if I saved a different view of it now. Go back to it. A really long developing play there by Tech. The pass itself even only ended up being 3 yards downfield anyway. So Thompson's here. He's obviously looking at the quarterback, knowing that he's got a decent amount of cushion on the outside receiver here. I guess that's just assuming that this outside receiver is going to be running a pretty long route, which is not what happens. He breaks down there at the 30-yard line. The ball comes really a yard or two earlier. So it's such a slow developing play that Thompson is able to see it, jump right in front of it, and there's only 25 yards left anyway. So kind of a bad play call, I think, by Tech, and then just leaving that receiver one-on-one with a pass that was thrown short on top of the slow developing play. Yeah, this is the touchdown to Xavier Worthy. Great job by Casey, just throwing him an accurate ball. Worthy actually lines up. Let me see if I can go back to the start of the play. Worthy lines up here in the middle of this trips lineup to the right. I think that's Josh Moore on the far outside. No, Worthy lines up actually in the slot. So he's lined up here, and he's going to take it out once these guys clear the top right there. So right there, Worthy plants his leg and starts to head to the outside. This defender is already out of position. So he's already got that guy beat. Looks like that's Whittington right there, who's squatting down at the 17-yard line. So he's commanding a defender. Can't really see what's happening back there, but Worthy's already got his guy beat. Casey sees it, gives Worthy plenty of space to work these last sort of 8 to 10 yards into the end zone. And then Josh Moore's defender comes off of him to try to help, but he's already too late. Yeah, this is just a different view of it. So you can see how Worthy is getting space here, and I can't tell if that's Whittington or is it Cade Brewer? Yeah, that's Whittington. So they really get the defenders twisted up with that little route tree there, which was pretty cool. Here's another touchdown run from Roschon lining up at quarterback. It's awesome to see. Again, just mixing up the play calling. Roschon and Bijan in the backfield at the same time. You've got to account for both of them. So another little wildcat touchdown run by Roschon, which is awesome to see. So at this point of the game, early third quarter, it's already 42-14. And this is this is Casey's interception. So, man, would he have thrown that? Would he have taken that chance if the game was tied at 14? Probably not. He obviously has a ton of time here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got like 5 to 6 seconds. He rolls out. He's obviously not, his feet are not good here. But he does see Whittington open in the end zone, but just throws a bad ball. But man, that's what that was one of 3 bad passes that Casey threw. Casey had 5 incompletions, but he also had 5 touchdown passes. Yeah, this was the cool little shovel to Whittington. So many defenders are going to have to key on Bijan here, lined up right beside Casey, which is kind of what it looks like happens, or definitely could happen. You can see all these defenders flowing left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pretty much 8 defenders are automatically flowing to the left, which only leaves 3 guys to defend Whittington on this little jet sweep, quick little push shovel pass. We got a hat on a hat here, and Cade Brewer finishes up this block here. Whittington maybe even could have cut it back here and scored even a little easier, but you got, Marcus Washington and Cade Brewer finishing the tackles there. And then you've got like 2 or 3 defenders that are just out of place. But that's what Bijan can do in the backfield, man. I mean, in plus, you can even come up with some versions of a play like that where Casey keeps it. So you've got to account for all of them. But you saw the offensive line doing a sort of, kind of a little zone block to the right, and it commands attention from 8 defenders. Yeah, this was Casey's touchdown to Whittington, or to Worthy here. Just a little spin move to step out of that, and then outruns the rest of the guys. Worthy doesn't even look like he's fully running there. But again, a lot of time. Casey had a lot of time. Looks like there's 3 guys bringing pressure, and then this outside linebacker here looks like he's keying right on Bijan. So it's a little fake handoff, and seems like when this linebacker realizes that Bijan does not have the ball, he goes ahead and rushes. Bijan does not get a hit on anybody, So he looks like he's going to release out here to the left. But Casey steps up into the pocket, has a lot of time. Maybe he could have even sidestepped to the right, but he trusts Worthy. And this isn't this is kind of a veteran throw, a veteran decision. He's got some guys around him, but Worthy has to go up for it a little bit. He turns it upfield really quickly and just kind of slips out of that tackle. Worthy's special, man. He's just that fast twitch, route running, kind of bendy, squirrely, fast guy. And, man, that's such the opposite of Colin Johnson, L.J. Humphrey, and even Brennan Eagles from the Herman era. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I had. Drop your comments below. Let me know what stood out to you. What do you think this thing still needs to work on and correct heading into a trip up to Fort Worth to play the Horny Frogs? Going to be a really interesting next two games. Hopefully, what I would love to see is that the offense keeps this momentum and the defense steps up to at least keep TCU out of the end zone. I don't think they're going to keep TCU out of the end zone completely. TCU just lost to SMU at home. SMU racked up, I think, 42 on them. So you can score on TCU. So I really hope that this offensive momentum continues, and if it does, that's going to be riding a really big wave into the Oklahoma game against an Oklahoma team that continues to win very, very close games. We saw it against Tulane. We just saw it against West Virginia. Kicked a game-winning field goal late. Kept the score in the teens. So, this is showing up to be a very winnable Big 12. Iowa State has already lost. So this Kansas State lost. This is definitely wide open. And these next two games, we all know what an annoyance Gary Patterson's Horny Frogs have been to Texas over the past 5 or 6 years. So these are definitely two critical games. But what I really want to see is continuing the offensive momentum against Tech, getting up early, and then keeping control of that game in that momentum. Maybe Tech was looking, or TCU was looking ahead to Texas a little bit too much. I don't know. And then hopefully Texas doesn't do the same thing to Oklahoma. I don't think they will, because they know what Tech has been over the past several years. And I think Texas is hopefully going to want to correct what happened at the very end of last year's TCU game with really having the game right there in front of them for the taking, and then fumbling it and losing. So going to be interesting. Very winnable Big 12. Feeling a lot better, than I did against Arkansas, especially since we saw Arkansas take care of Little Aggie and only allowing 10 points against Little Aggie, and I think 220 something yards of offense. So Arkansas seems to be really legit. But all Texas can do at this point is blow ahead and take control of this conference, man. I think it's wide open for the taking. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Give it a like, share it out, drop your comments below. We'll see you next week. Welcome.